this is Audra coming at you from Studio Blue. Today we're going to do a little 30-minute booty blasting mini band workout. So if you don't have a mini band, you don't have to use one. You're still going to feel your glutes. If you have a TheraBand or even a really stretchy pair of yoga pants that you want to tie around your thighs and get all MacGyver with it, you can do that too. Otherwise, use the mini band or don't. You're always, always, always welcome to opt out of any exercise, and you're always welcome to ditch your prop. Only do what feels good for you and your body today. And we're going to start strong. We're just going to start with it on. So go ahead, bring your mini band onto your thighs. And this sometimes is the trickiest part. We're just going to lie down, knees bent, feet flat, and just bring your feet about hip bone distance apart, and then squeeze your glutes a little to bring your knees in line with your feet and your hip bones. Think about a big inhale and big exhale, relaxing through your neck, through your jaw, through your lower back, through your hips. Big inhale, nice and wide. And then big exhale, think about drawing your hip bones together, sinking your belly button down, and just engaging your pelvic floor. And then relax as you inhale, nice and wide into the sides of your back and your ribs. And then exhale, narrow through your hip bones, lift your pelvic floor, rock into a little imprint, and then rock back to neutral. Let's do a couple more. So keeping that nice engagement of the sides of your hips, we're rocking from our abdominals. Think about your pelvis being a dinner plate. With a marble in the center, you want to roll the marble towards your face, and then you want to roll the marble away from your face, just to the center of the plate. Now this time we imprint and hold. Don't be afraid to touch your glutes here. I want to make sure that they're firing evenly. Keep them a little bit soft, and then deepen your imprint from your abs, and then your glutes can help lift you up into your bridge position. First one doesn't necessarily count. We're just finding where we are. So if your hip bones are dropping and your ribs are popping, soften your ribs, tuck your tailbone, squeeze your glutes. That's what's pressing you up. Inhale, and then exhale, relax, rolling everything down, bone by bone, until you come into that nice neutral pelvis. Now, if as you're doing this, you start experiencing any kind of knee pain or knee tension, widen your feet or take your feet a little bit away from you. You might not be able to get up as high in your bridge, but that's okay. Think about those abdominals engaging first, scooping second, and then peeling. Think about those heels dragging towards you, knees going away from you, glutes elevating you, and then melt and roll all the way back down. Last one like this, we hold it up. Now just squeeze your glutes a little higher, and then a little higher, right? So just tiny little squeezes. It's not about range, right? If you find that you're feeling this in your back instead of your glutes, just think about your glutes high-fiving each other, high-fiving each other. For 5, widening through your collarbones if you can. 4, 3, 2, now hold. Keep your big toe mound down on the ground and squeeze your glutes to press your knees into the band and back to center. Squeeze to press your knees into the band. So you've got your glute max on to help elevate you. And now we're finding our glute medius to press into the band. We have 5 more, 4 more, 3, 2, last one, hold it out and hold, keep that pressure for 4, 3, 2, 1. Roll all the way down. Go ahead and roll onto one of your sides. Now, if you have a pillow that you'd like to use, feel free. You can also use your arm. Yeah. And we're just gonna lift our feet. So widen through your sits bones and try to allow your heels to be in line with your tailbone. And feel where your hip bones are. If you're rocking back, you can tell because there's some shearing of your knees. So keep your knees squeezed together. Take your hand, lengthen your top hip away from you. So you've got a little space underneath your bottom rib. Squeeze that glute, come into a clamshell hold. Try not to rock back or change the shape of your spine. Now slowly allow that knee to descend. Squeeze, press, hold, hold, hold. Slowly allow it to descend. If you're feeling this in the front of your hip rather than in the glute, think about tailbone back a little bit and spiral that knee up. That glute should be engaging as we hold, 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 and then eccentrically lower. 3. Slowly, 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 slowly coming down. Good. Don't worry about the knee going all the way up. It's kind of an angle, right? It's more about that thigh bone spiraling in the socket and then lowering. Good. Both feet come down, bring your knees forward, send your tailbone back a little. So it's as if you're sitting in a chair, making sure that you haven't rocked back. Widen through your sits bones, lift your knee and your foot at the same time. Feel that side glute. Slowly let it come down. Press, squeeze, hold, 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 widening through your sits bones. Relaxing through your neck and shoulders as much as you can. Hopefully you're already really feeling the sides of your glutes. If not, check your knee placement, check your back. If you're tucking, you're probably going to feel the front of your leg, of that hip complex, rather than the back. We have 2 more here, and 2. Try to keep your knee and ankle at about the same angle. Last one, hold, and tiny little squeezes. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring it down. Extend your legs away from you. Now they can be in a slightly piked position, or you can just bend that bottom leg for a little bit more support. Just make sure you're not arching. So knit your ribs in, find that lift of your pelvic floor, make sure that your hip is lengthening away and you can hover off the mat. Now relax that foot, paintbrush it up, finding that glute, and then squeegee it down. So as you do this, if you notice your ribs start sinking, you're starting to get that movement through your spine rather than your hip joint, right? So we're made up of levers. I want that lever to come from your hip rather than your ribs. We have a few more here. 5, 4, we hold, don't rush through it. 3, 2 more, think about pushing that foot away from you rather than elevating it to the sky. Hold, tiny little squeezes. 5, think about that glute moving the foot rather than the foot moving and hoping that the glute follows along. 2, 1, bring it down. Bend that knee. Don't be afraid to smack that hip out. Now lift your knee and hip, flex that foot, squeeze the glute to bring that heel back and relax. Squeeze the glute. If you notice your hip bones want to shift, you're getting that range through your lumbar extension rather than your hip extension, which means it's erector spinae muscles rather than glutes and hamstrings. You want to hold that deep abdominal connection to help us here. We have 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, last one, hold, tiny little squeezes up and down. Boom, boom. Hopefully you're feeling this in a different place in your leg than you were before for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring it in. Smack that hip out. So we've done some external rotations. We're just going to do a little internal rotation and press up. So bringing your knees slightly forward. So like we started, only the leg down, press. Notice how you feel this in a slightly different place. And we have 5. And we have 4. Almost there. 3. And 2. Last one, hold. Tiny little squeezes. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bring it down. Smack that hip out. And I have wonderful news. We get to do the other side. I'm going to flip over. So go ahead and find that position where your heels are about in line with your tailbone. You're not collapsing. Think about that hip sliding away from you. Bring your feet up, tailbone back, and then rotate, just spiral that thigh bone, and then back. So once again, using that oblique to help you hover off the floor to keep your spine in that nice straight line, right? So if we're sinking, we're actually making a little U shape. Now, even though, and then slowly eccentrically lower, right? So it's not boom, boom, it's a boom, hold, hold, slowly lower. So even though we're using our muscles to hold us in this nice straight line, don't use a ton of force here, right? We shouldn't be gripping and bracing through our back to create that stability. It should be an easy stability. 3, making sure you don't go into the tuck, slide that hip away from your face. 2, last 1, and we hold, 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 almost there. Oh my gosh, my biscuits are burning. And bring your knees and feet down, slide them forward, widen through your sits bone. So imagine you're sitting in a chair, and then make sure you haven't rocked back. So look at your knees, are they together? Good. You can always put your hand down to help guide yourself. Or if you like a little bit of tactile feedback, right? Use your hand on your knee to, or your hip to see where you are. Try to keep your knee and ankle relatively aligned. So we're not in an internal rotation or going into an external rotation. We're just doing an abduction, right? Abduction. We have a few more. And you might be feeling that bottom side still trying to help. That's okay. It has a job to do. We just didn't feel it on the other side as much because it wasn't as tired. For 4 and 5, hold, tiny squeezes, making sure you're not rocking back. Just boom, 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 boom. Almost there for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bring it down. Extend your legs out. Bend that bottom knee. I'm going to make sure I'm not going to kick anything over. All right, so lengthen through that foot, relax the ankle, and just paintbrush the foot up, levering from the hip, and then back. So a little paintbrush up, reaching it towards the other wall, and then squeegee it down. So slide your hand underneath your ribs and just notice if you get heavier on your hand. If you do, see if you can keep pushing that foot away from you in order to get that connection. We have a few more. 5 and 4. Hopefully you're feeling this at a different place than you were earlier with the knees bent. 2 more. Last one. Hold, bend the knee, and then we squeeze that glute to press it back and come back to center. Now keep in mind, if the hip bones are diving, make it a smaller move, right? Don't be afraid to let the knee come forward a little of your midline if you need that in order to find that glute connection and press. At best, we have about 9 degrees of pure hip extension, right? So all that means is you can only go 9 degrees back before your back starts helping. We have 3, 2, hold, little lift and lowers, right? 5, 4. Once again, it's about that glute firing to get the movement of the knee rather than the other way around. 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring the knees in. Don't be afraid to smack that hip out if you need to. Start in that internal rotation. So once again, it's like what we started with at the beginning, except now we stay in internal rotation as you press towards the sky and back down. Once again, find your pelvis, right? Make sure that you're keeping it as neutral as you can without creating excessive tension. If you have trouble finding neutral, you can do this against a wall, like put a ball between your lower back and the wall and just kind of feel the support that the ball provides. We have 5, 4, and 3, and 2. Last one, and we hold, tiny little boop, boop, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring it down, smack that hip out. We're coming onto all 4s. Now, if it doesn't feel okay to be on your knees, you can absolutely do this standing. And in fact, it's really hard standing. So I'm going to be on my forearms, lengthen through the crown of your head, making sure that you're hugging your abs in and up without just rounding your back, okay? Lengthening through the crown of your head, slide one foot out. Now don't think about lifting that foot, just push it away from you, squeeze that glute, squeeze, 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 maybe it elevates, and then tap it down. And then squeeze, 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 and back down. Now, I'm actually feeling my stabilizing side a lot more than that mobilizing side because it's working consistently, whereas the mobile side is only working when it's lifting. We have 3 more, and 2. Let the prime mover, the glute max, initiate this. Hold. Now just squeeze the cheek more, and a little more, and a little more. And we have 5, 4, and 3, 2, hold. Keep your thigh right where it is, just bend your knee. So your hamstring just layered on. Now reach that foot away from you. Try to keep that thigh bone still. Imagine your knee is on a shelf. It's just floating in the air. And then you layer on that hamstring. And then extend. And then bend, contracting from your knee flexor. 3. Push, squeeze that glute. 2, reaching long through that foot. Last 1, bend the knee, keep the foot flexed, tiny little squeezes up. So now it is glute and hamstring. Don't worry about range, it's not big, it's just a tiny little press for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bend the knee, press yourselves into a little rest position. And then we get to do the other side. So go ahead, come back onto your forearms. Center yourself. So if your knees are together, that's okay. Just allow the glutes to kind of press out to stabilize you. Now slide your opposite foot away. And now just squeeze that glute, pushing that foot so far away from you that maybe it starts to move. And bring it down. So also, side note, if the band turns into a tourniquet, right, you can take a break. You can absolutely kind of flush it out, but you can also just drop it underneath that knee, and it creates a more stable position for that band. Is it harder that way? Yes. However, it definitely creates an environment where it's less likely to slide around on your thigh. So, and you can always, what? Get rid of the band? 100%. We have a few more here. Trying to keep a laser beam from your glute to your foot. And 2. Last 1. Hold, keep that knee on a shelf as you bend it. And then reach it away. Try to keep both hip bones facing the same direction, right? So they're like car headlights. If they're facing different directions, that's the sign of a problem, right? So if you're kind of sinking into your shoulder or you're rotating, come back to center, reconnect. We have a few more here. And then squeeze that glute. Bend the knee, layering on your hamstring, squeezing the glute. 2. Last 1. Bend, and now glute and hamstring just to press the heel up. Once again, it's a squeeze, tiny squeeze, as opposed to a bigger movement, right? It's not a donkey kick. We have 5. Just let your cheeks high five each other. 4. Don't be afraid to breathe. If you need to support your head, it's okay. 2. Last 1. Bend the knees. Press yourself into a rest position. Letting those glutes relax. I'm going to readjust my band as we come back. Are we done? No, never. We're never done. So now, all we're going to do is start on the other side again. So the first side we slid out, slide that foot out. Now slide it to the outside of your mat. Externally rotate just a little bit through your thigh bone. If as you do this, you're sinking into your other hip, don't externally rotate as far. Just think about your knee pointing out to the side. Now we squeeze, tap it down. Just squeeze and press, and tap. Squeeze and press. Nice. And now, once again, you should feel this in yet a different part of your glute, right? We have 5. And 4. And 3. And 2. Last 1, hold. Tiny little squeezes. We have 10, 9, 8. Think of lengthening through the crown of your head. 5. Belly button pulling up. 2. 1. Circle the leg. So it's a tiny little circle in the thigh, right? So it's not about how big of the range you can get. Think about stirring your hip bone freely in the socket. The foot then goes along for the ride. 3, and 2, And then all we get to do is reverse the circle, right? Now it's across, up, out, down. And if you feel your whole spine trying to respond, reconnect. Just make sure that you're using the appropriate amount of stability through your abs. So you're hugging your abs up and in without bracing through your spine. 3, 2, 1, knees bent. Press yourself into that rest position. And then, you guessed it, other side. I'm gonna turn. You can see what I'm doing a little bit easier. So slide that foot out, away from you. Slide it out to the side of your mat, right? Externally rotate a little bit. So the knee goes from pointing down just to pointing towards the wall. If your hip bone came along for the ride, bring it down, hug your abs. Think about a suction cup on your lower back, just drawing you up. Press that foot away, tap it down. Now the fun part of this is chances are you're really feeling this in your stabilizing side rather than the mobilizing side. That's okay. Just think about a marionette and the string that lifts the foot because it comes from the glute. That's where that originator is. It's glute. We have a few more here. Once again, you don't need to get your leg above 90 degrees, right? So if you're here, like sinking down, you've gone a little too far. 5. Think about pushing that foot away from you to get it there. 3. And 2. Last one, we hold, tiny little squeezes. Almost there. We have 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Little circles. Just think about that thigh bone stirring freely in the socket. And if you start feeling your hamstring more than your glute, take a second, reconnect, right? Our prime mover should be that glute, but if there's weakness in it for any reason, it's gonna try to defer the work to its synergists. 5, 4, 3, 2, reverse. Once again, if you need to, take a second or longer than a second. You can always opt out of any exercise. We have 5 and 4 and 3. If you need to support your head, please do. 2. Last 1, bend your knees. Press yourselves into this gentle rest position, allowing your glutes to spread and relax for a second. You can sway them to one side. You can sway them to the other side. Back and forth just a couple of times. Go ahead and come all the way to standing. I'm going to readjust my band. And this is just a little added bonus. So go ahead, widen your feet to about hip bone or shoulder distance, and just sink down into a little baby squat. And then squeeze and lift yourself back up. I'm gonna come all the way off my mat, and then you can widen your feet a little bit, externally rotate a little bit through your upper thigh bones, sink it down, and then come all the way up. Now you can just be here and just notice, since the band is wanting to pull your knees in, are you able to keep your knees tracking over your toes, or are they collapsing in? Last one like this. And then the great news is we get to hold it. So we're gonna hold, look down at one of your knees. Using your glute for control, eccentrically let that knee come in and then concentrically press. Hold. Other side. Let it come in and then press, hold. So these are like standing, alternating clamshells, right? So you've got that slow internal rotation and then press for that external rotation. Once again, you should be feeling this through your glutes, not your knees. So if you need to change your position a little bit, please do. Also, the band is pulling, so it's up to you and your muscles to resist the band. Otherwise, it's going to try to snap your knee towards it, and we don't want that. 2 more. Last one, each side. Keep that pressure. Press out just a little bit more. And keep pressing as you lift up and down just a couple of times. 5, 4, 3, keep pressing out. 2, keep the knee lined up with that second or third toe. Last 1, all the way up. And now we do a little single leg stance. So first, squeeze that glute up your leg, lift your knee. Nope, lift your foot, yeah. Now, if this is appropriate for your body, great. Otherwise, hold on to something. We're just gonna press the knee out and bring it in. Press the knee out to the side, bring it in. Now, if you'd like more challenge, press it out, extend the leg, bend, bring it in. Press it out, extend the leg, bend the knee, bring it in. If you tend to sit forward in your hip bones, really think about deep abdominals and glutes helping lift you up. We have just a couple more. 2. I know it's way harder than it should be. Last one. Bend the knee, bring it in, step the foot down. See if you need to hold on to something as you bend that knee. And then press on out. And notice how different it might feel from side to side. If you're trying to push with your foot in that internal rotation, try to bring it back. Try to keep it nice and neutral if you can, without sinking or shifting into that stabilizing hip. Now, if you'd like more, extend, bend, and down. Make sure the knee that's attached to that stable standing leg is not hyperextending. What does that mean? We're using our muscles to keep the leg straight as opposed to passive joint range of motion, right? So you're lifting your kneecap up your leg by squeezing your quad. 2. We are almost there. You're a champion. You're amazing. And I don't know about you, but I might not be able to walk tomorrow. Let's end with a couple roll downs. Nod your chin, hollow out through the front of your body. Just let your back relax. Feel free to bend a knee. And then other side. Just back and forth. Scoop and roll it all the way back up. And one more, nod, hollow and roll. You can roll that mini band off of your legs as you go down. Feel free to bend one knee. Other side. Reconnect with the floor. Scoop, hollow out through the front of your body. Lift all the way up. Shoulders come to your ears. Relax them down. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that your buns got a good workout. It was great to see you. Have a great rest of your week. Thanks for joining us here at Studio Blue.